Salvete discipuli. So today's video is the first video from Chapter 7 in Latin for the new millennium. And we're going to learn the third declension nouns, actually only in the masculine and feminine. Now, third declension nouns actually do have masculine and feminine and neuter genders. But for today, we're only going to learn the endings for the masculine and the feminine ones. The endings are exactly the same for both of them, okay? Now, remember that you can always tell what declension a noun is in from its genitive singular ending, which is the second form in the dictionary entry. And all third declension nouns have a genitive singular ending of is, okay? And that's how you know that they're third declension. You also need that second form in the dictionary entry because you get the noun base by removing this is ending from the genitive form. So remember, your noun base is the form onto which you add all of the endings. So you absolutely need to have your noun base before you can decline a noun. Also remember that your dictionary entry is going to give you that genitive singular ending for you to be able to tell what declension the noun is in and to get the noun base, because the dictionary entry is made up of the nominative singular, the genitive singular, and the gender, okay? So in Chapter 7, these are the 5 third declension nouns that you're learning. You have 3 masculine and 2 feminine ones. And you guys can figure out how to get the noun base, right? By taking the second form, the genitive form, removing the ending, and then that gives you your noun base. So I want you guys to take a second to write out the dictionary entries here. Amor, amoris, passer, passeris, pax, pacus, senex, senis, soror, sororis. And I would like for you then to write down what you think the noun base is going to be. So just take a second to do that. Go ahead and push pause. Now hopefully this is what you guys got for your noun bases. If we take the is ending off of the second form in the dictionary entry for amor, love, we get amor. Okay? Not too big of a shock, right? Because this looks like the nominative form. Same for passer, passeris. We take that is ending off and we get passer. But look at pax, pacus. We have a consonant change here, right? So the nominative singular form is pax, but the noun base onto which you're going to add all those other endings for the third declension is going to be on this form, pac, because that's what we get when we remove the is from the genitive form. So pax, pacus, peace, okay? Senex, senis, remove that is, we get sen, that's the noun base for an old man. And then soror, sororis, we take that is off and we get soror with the macron as our noun base for the word sister, okay? Now, one last thing that you absolutely have to remember is that any adjective can describe any noun, regardless of the declension of the adjective or the declension of the noun. So far, the only adjectives that you guys have learned have been first, second declension adjectives, meaning that they follow the first, second declension noun patterns, right? The masculine follows the second declension masculine, the feminine follows the first declension, and the neuter follows the second declension neuter. But all of those adjectives that you have already learned can of course describe third declension nouns, which means that their endings are not going to match, but the endings should still agree in gender numbering case, okay? And I'm going to give you guys some examples of that as we go on in the video, okay? Now, the first chart you're going to have to write down are the third declension endings, okay? Unlike the first and second declension, there are so many possibilities for what the nominative singular can be that I just give you a blank. If we just go back to the previous slide, the ending could be OR, ER, AX, EX, OR. They could be so many different things. And actually, that's just the tip of the iceberg because there are so many more that the nominative singular can be. So I don't even actually give you one definitive thing. It's just a blank. It's whatever the first word in the dictionary entry is. Once you get your noun base, you're going to add the rest of these endings in the singular and the plural onto that noun base to decline these third declension nouns, okay? The genitive is is, dative e, accusative m, ablative e. In the plural, nominative ace, genitive dative ibis, accusative ace, ablative ibis, okay? Now, I already want to point out some things to you so that you do not get confused. You should always be memorizing the full dictionary entry of all of your nouns. And one of the reasons why this is so important is because you need to know what declension this noun is in, especially if you find that the ending is um. Because now you know that for a third declension noun, a um ending is genitive plural. But for a second declension noun, that is going to be accusative singular, or if it's neuter, nominative singular. Notice that this genitive singular ending is does not have a macron. So you shouldn't confuse it with the dative and ablative plural of the first and second declensions, okay? The last thing I want to point out to you guys is that the nominative and the vocative are the exact same endings for third declensions. I know I've said this before, but I think it bears repeating. The only time that you're going to have a different nominative ending from a vocative ending is in the second declension masculine, okay? And you've already learned those. Okay, the first paradigm or example that we're going to do is passer, passeris, which is a masculine noun that means sparrow. Remember, we get our base from taking the is ending off of the genitive form. That means our noun base, of course, is passer. So this first form here, passer, the first form in the dictionary entry is our nominative singular. And then we have our noun base onto which we're going to add the endings over here. So passer, passeris, passeri, passerum, passere, passeres, passerum, passeribus, passeres, passeribus. Okay? And you'll notice that the translation of the different excuse me, of the different cases remains the same because the cases, their function don't change based on declensions. They just are what they are. Now, remember, any adjective can describe any noun. So, passer, passeris, and here's that declension again, right? Passer, passeris, passeri, passerum, passere, passer, can be described by any adjective. So here I want to talk about maybe a large sparrow, okay? So I'm using the adjective magnus, magna, magnum. Now we know that this adjective, that this noun is masculine, so the form of the adjective that we're going to need here is the masculine, okay? And it's a first second declension adjective, which means it's going to follow the second declension masculine pattern, okay? And that means these endings are not going to match, but it doesn't matter because passer is the nominative singular masculine, and so is magnus. Passeris is the genitive singular masculine, and so is magni, okay? So you're going to notice that these endings don't really match, although, hey, look at this pattern. There's always an M in the accusative singular, but whatever. But they're still the same gender numbering case, okay? So write down this chart as well in your notes, right? You should have all of these charts in your notes. I give you an example of a feminine third declension as well, soror, sororis. Again, if we take that is off the genitive form, then we get a noun base of soror, okay? So soror, sororis, sorori, sororum, sorore, sorores, sororum, sororibus, sorores, sororibus, okay? And again, we can have, let's say we want to talk about our big sister, okay? Because this is a feminine noun, we're going to use the feminine form of this first, second declension adjective. This is the feminine. It follows the first declension. And these endings may not match, but soror magna Soror is nominative singular feminine, so is magna. Sororis is genitive singular feminine, and so is magni. So make sure you copy this down into your notes and the previous chart as well. I hope that you have a lovely, lovely evening, and I will see you in class. Make sure you take good notes. I will be checking. All right. Walete.